As I was studying and preparing a message upon Exodus 32, where Moses intercedes on behalf of the people of Israel. And in that chapter, it actually shows the great love that Moses had for the nation of Israel, for his own kinsmen, for his own people, that he would be willing, and that he actually asked God, hey, blot out my name. Take me out. And he may have been referring eternally. If you won't forgive your people, and God did forgive his people, though he did punish them. But the Apostle Paul also had the same type of love for his fellow kinsmen. It says in Romans chapter 9, verse 3, "For I could wish that I myself were accursed, anathema, cut off." He says, "and cut off from Christ for the sake of my brothers, my kinsmen, according to the flesh." That is, if somehow, if I went to hell, if my salvation could be revoked, and if that could somehow pay for the sins of the Israelites, I would be willing to do that, Paul says. Now, obviously he couldn't, because only Christ could do that. Only Christ could be our substitute. But with Moses and with Paul, this shows the great love in which they had for their people, for Israel. And I'm going to ask, do you have that much love for your neighbor? Do I have that much love for my neighbor? Would I be willing to pay an eternal price so that they may be won to saving knowledge of Jesus Christ? If somehow I could do that, it's just showing, do I have that extent of love? Because that is how much love Jesus has for us. It actually says in 2 Corinthians 5:21, "For our sake he made him," that is Jesus, "to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." It also says in 1 Peter 3:18, "For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, so that we might be brought to God," so that he might bring us to God. The Apostle Paul also referenced the Last Supper with communion when he points out, "For I received from the Lord what I also delivered to you, that Jesus, on the night in which he was betrayed, he took bread and he broke it and he said, 'Eat every one of you, for this is my body, which is on behalf of you, given on behalf of you.'" And that's what Jesus did. That's how much he loves us. He didn't have to pay and endure God's wrath for us. But for love's sake, he who knew no sin became sin on our behalf. He took upon God's wrath because he loves us, and that was the only way. So do I have that Christ-centered love? Would I be willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice, even for someone who may not even appreciate it, so that they may be saved, so that they may experience God's love? I pray that I can develop more and more of that type of love, and I pray that you will develop that type of love as well. Thank you for joining me.